Welcome, apprentices and acolytes. It's so good to see you. Welcome to the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I am Lord Dagovere, and it's so good to see you, fam. Let's go. Yes, you know, it's been a while. Yes, indeed. My friends. It's so good to see you guys. I feel like it's been like 2 weeks because of the hurricane. We've missed each other. How you guys doing today? Yo, let's go. Yes, Imperial Activity. David Torres, thank you so much for coming in. Everybody on Instagram, thank you so much for being here. Tuck, Ryan, Oso, it's so good to see you guys. Appreciate you all. Indeed, I do know. Yes, absolutely. Everybody knows. That's what I like to see. Indeed. Looking for my phone and didn't realize I'm using it to stream for Instagram Reels. That's how old I am now. Yes. Yo, Valhalla, so good to see you. Thank you so much, fam. Appreciate that. So good to see you coming in here now. I hope you guys have been enjoying all of the spooky Star Wars videos that we've been having going on. It's been really awesome to see so many people enjoying it. I've actually seen a lot of the videos that I've created have kind of inspired a lot of people to talk about a lot of the spooky stuff that I've been talking about, which is really cool. I've seen other creators talk about it on podcasts. I saw a podcast that was about to happen this week about some spooky stuff that I had been going on, and everything that I had been talking about. I feel like a lot of people kind of like just they've overlooked the last few years. There is no peace, there is passion. Ooh, yes. Oh, so it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, fam. By the way, everybody that's here, can I get a ready up inside the chat? Let's go chat. Let's go. Apprentices and acolytes coming in. So good to see you. I want to make sure that yeah, there we go. All right. Instagram's a little hard to navigate sometimes with the phone, but everybody on YouTube is cool. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Yeah, so how many of you guys have been looking at the spooky Star Wars stuff, all the videos coming out? It's been really awesome to see so many people enjoy the spooky Star Wars stuff, and it's so interesting to see how many people just have never heard of these things. And this is all stuff that I've known for a while after reading the, RP source books. There's so many RP source books that I think a lot of people just don't realize that there's a lot of good stuff in those. A lot of great lore. A lot of fantastic things. And a lot of the stuff, too, that, like I'm not even going to lie, fam. I've been sitting here. I have lists upon lists of things that I'm going to be talking about and uploading. And, we talked about ghost ships. We talked about the spiders, the web weavers in Kashyyyk. We talked about the Verminoth. We talked about, oh man, really cool, awesome planet, filled with the dark side, and the Sith usually end up sending Jedi there because they're afraid that it's filled with Sith spirits and everything. And then we talk about the space wraiths. Of course, we talked about Star Weird, but the Star Weird is so popular right now, man. It's crazy, dude. It's insane. But I have 20 other things that I want to talk about. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make the entire video lists. But all that is going to be on that playlist, at least now. And then when next year comes, we're going to add even more to it, so it's going to be awesome. Yo, Bugsy, oh my god, am I witnessing the Sith Lord? Yes, sir. Hello, it's so good to see you. Ready up inside the chat. Fam, I appreciate it, man. One of the reasons why I love doing these videos, too, is because at least everybody knows that I'm not AI. And when I talk about, follow for more Star Wars content, what AI are you using? I always hear that in the chat. It's so funny how many comments I get about that. It's like, yo, what AI voice are you using? I've probably gotten 3 or 4 messages a week about the voice that I use, and I'm just like, it's me. It's literally me. It's just me. There's no AI here, guys. It's all official Star Wars art. It's all a voice. There's no AI here. But yeah, man. We're just chilling today. We'll talk about some spooky Star Wars, so it's cool. Bugsy says the Sith have been gone for thousands of years. Yes, gone for millennia now. Yo, Hyde Flynn, thank you so much for coming in here. Let's go. The texture of that cloak is 100% Sith. Yes. Soon I will have a new apprentice, one far younger and more powerful. Dude, I don't know why. I love saying that. I love saying that so much when I have this cloak on. And also I get the silly stuff. No, you die. What did you think of Galaxy of Fear books? Yeah, I haven't read all of them. I've only read a couple of them, and they're really hard to find, which is really annoying too because a lot of the books have been turned to audiobooks recently, and in the last maybe decade or so. But those books do not have audiobooks, man. They have no audiobooks, and I think it's because they're kind of like short stories in Star Wars. So I'm gonna have to find out where I can get them. I could probably get them online somewhere. But I want to read them again because I want to incorporate that into next year's spooky Star Wars stuff. And so since you guys are here, I'll give you the entire stuff. Yo, Ralph, thank you so much for coming on Instagram, fam. Appreciate it. So here's the new. Here's like a preview of what you guys are getting in the next couple days, because you have this entire week, and then next week is Halloween week, and I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. So we're going to talk about the Takata. And the Tukata, of course, are the Sith dogs from Korriban. We have a video on that. The Terran Tactic is going to be coming out. Sith Worms, I want to do a video on Sith Worms, of course. And you guys know the Sith Worms and Naga Sadow and everything else. And what the Sith did to those with alchemy and everything, the ritualistic stuff. Of course, from the Tales of the Jedi comics. Going to be talking about that as well. I'm saving one thing, and I don't know if you guys can guess it, but I'm saving one thing for the last video that I'm doing. And it's a pretty popular topic that a lot of people have talked about, specifically like Eckhart's Ladder, I think was one of the first people that ever mentioned it. But I'm going to talk about a certain thing, and I want to see if you guys guess it. So go on and guess it as I get the next one. I want to talk about the Darafin. I want to talk about, we talked about the web eaters. Spice spiders are going to be really interesting because there's a lot of spooky stuff about the spice spiders and the Imperials kind of like trying to get control of the Kessel spice mines, and they have no idea what's happening to the people. Like, people are literally getting abducted from these mines, and they have no idea what's happening. So I want to make a video about that and how interesting the spice spiders are. There's the Scree, there's the Lilac, there's the Gorax, the Dread weapons, of course, and if you know the Vong, this is pretty awesome. The Dosham, the Crown of Silk, which I think is really interesting. And there's even some more stuff that I found out in some of these other source books that I actually have up right now with me, and it's really interesting to see the way this RP book is. It's called, I don't know if you guys have it, but it's basically, it's Star Wars RP for the Jedi. I think it's called the Jedi Academy Training Manual, and it's got a lot of cool stuff in there. It talks about the Terran Tactic, of course, if you guys know, the Takata and the Sith dogs. It talks about the Sith Worms and the Sith Warbirds, which are really interesting. Oh my gosh, and I forgot about the Marsh Hunt, bro. The Marsh Hunt is really sick. I don't know if you guys know that. I don't think anybody really knows what that is, but it's going to be cool. And then the Darafin. These Darafin and are really interesting because it seems like they're kind of like dark side spirits. They're kind of like mythological. And a lot of the Jedi that encounter them are terrified of them because they can kind of possess Jedi. Really interesting stuff. So I'm going to talk about a lot of that stuff. And the cool thing is, too, is like it's not something that a lot of people have talked about in Star Wars. I think that when you see a lot of Star Wars content creators, they always talk about the same shit, man. It's always the same stuff. And a lot of the things, and I'm not, mind you, I'm not discrediting any of the Star Wars creators out there. It's just someone makes a video and it's really popular. It gets millions of views. So if you're a Star Wars content creator, what do you want to do? You want to make the same video. You want to talk about the same thing. You want to put the same title. You want to put the same hashtags. You want to put the same tags. You want to talk about the same things because it's relevant. People are talking about it. But I don't necessarily like doing that thing. I like doing my own stuff. And that's why I dig deeper. I try to figure out, what else is going on in the world. And all the stuff that I've read, too. I know a lot of people kind of water down what actually happens in the books, which is why I'm so big on using sources in my channels and my videos, because I like people understanding and knowing exactly where these things are coming from. What page number, what chapter, is it canon? Is it legends? Who said it? Who is this art by? From what person? And I think the more that you implore this into your content, the easier it's going to be for everybody to get inspired to look it up themselves, directly where the source is. And that's, I think, the most beautiful thing about creating a Star Wars channel is you get people invested. to the point that they want to read it themselves, today that they want to talk about it themselves. And I think that's the best thing a content creator can do, is to get people talking about the stuff that they're talking about. And that's what I want to do. I want to talk about it with Val Hole in chat. I want to talk about it with Hyde Flynn. Talk about it with Bugsy. And of course, my boy Ralph and Benjamin over here on Instagram. And Saminus Prime, man, you know. And I think those are the most fun things. But I didn't see anybody guess. It correctly that we were going to be talking about. But the last video I'm going to be talking about is the Nal Nal. That's going to be the main one. The Nal Nal is always really interesting, and there's only about 2 or 3 pages on them in these source books. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many people cling to the Nal Nal and appreciate it much more with these source books and what they have to say about them. No problem, Bugsy. Go get that pump, bro. Appreciate you, man. I'll see you around. Hit me up when you're back. Trent, thank you so much for coming over here, man. Appreciate you. Yo, can we all welcome Trent with a ready up inside the chat? Apprentices and acolytes coming in here to the Dark Temple to get some more knowledge, baby. But yeah, how you guys doing today? How you guys doing this week? I know we weren't talking last week because of the hurricane, and I was still trying to do stuff and recover. Yeah, I had to actually put up cameras around the house too, because there was so much debris and there was a lot of crazy people going around trying to steal stuff from people that didn't have power. It's really insane how that happens, man. Valhalla says, thanks for your shout-outs. Yeah, no problem, man. I really appreciate the community. I love talking with everybody, and everyone comes in here with the comments, and they love the videos that's been happening. It's really cool, man. It's really awesome when you guys come into this chat and talk to me, because especially for someone who's a scrub, you know, I will always see myself as a scrub. And when I was sitting there in high school and I wanted to talk about Star Wars, no one gave a shit. No one gave a shit about my voice. No one talked to me. Even people that I know now, like, you know, I'll message them. They won't necessarily message me back, even when it's about Star Wars. So the fact that I have, you know, 5 people, 6 people, 7 people inside the chat talking to me about Star Wars makes me feel like, yeah, I'm a person, you know, that I have some type of value. And it's really very, very motivational to wake up and see you guys consistently interacting with the pages, consistently asking for something, consistently asking for my view, you know, when in a world where no one gives a shit about what I think. So it's really awesome that, you know, people like you are in this chat consistently, not just in the live streams, of course, but in the comments of the videos, whether it's the reactions, the watch times that we do. And although we, you know, we're nowhere near as large as all the other content creators that have been around for a while, the quality, in my opinion, is just much, much greater. The quality and the people that are here really make me want to make videos every single day, even when I'm tired, even when I'm depressed, even when I'm exhausted, and no matter how toxic it can be, and there's some really shitty ass people, I just know that the few of you that are here, man, make it so much more worthwhile, and it's awesome, dude. We got nothing but love for you, homie. Thank you, David Torres. Hope you're doing well, man. I appreciate you being here, dude. Hyde Flynn says, glad your chaotic situation, a lot of situation of Sithly meditation. Yeah, it's always good. Plus, it's Florida. I don't like hurricanes. Don't really bother me. I'm more cautious at the idea of flooding. Flooding is always terrifying. There's nothing that you can do. Look at this handsome dude. You are killing it. Yo, Dark Choco inside the chat. Thank you so much for coming in. Ready up, fam. It's so good to see you. I hope you're doing well, man. We haven't got to talk in so long. I saw you guys talking about Anakin Skywalker yesterday on the Dyad pad. And you know I love me some Anakin Skywalker, fam. Yeah, baby. But I hope you guys are doing well. Hyde Flynn says, I'm taking a lot of reading recommendations from my comics. My local library is well stocked. That is awesome. A lot of libraries do not have a lot of Star Wars comics. It's really hard to find. I think that if you look into some of the, you know, garage sales, some of these, what are the stores, you know, like the used stores where you go and you buy them. I don't want to call them threads. I can't remember what they're called. But basically you go and look where all these, like, people have thrown away trash or something like that. That's where I find a lot of the Star Wars books. Like for instance, this one that I got, these 2 ones. Thrift, that's what it is. Thrift stores. So, and the thrift stores that I got, and by the way, I'm literally like buried in stuff. This is one of the stuff that I got, the Star Wars RP source books, which is literally where a majority of the content comes from, is from these Star Wars RP books that I'm just falling in love with, man, because I love reading them and love finding stuff out. I already know quite a bit about Star Wars, but the Star Wars roleplay books are amazing. Then you get to find some oldies but goodies, you know, with the Essential Character List, back in the old 2000s, man. That's some really good too. You know, it's even got stuff from Tales of the Jedi, Naga Sadao, Marco Ragnos, characters that you wouldn't find in today's content. And you know, you guys know I love both canon and Legends, but I love also finding previous stuff that isn't really shown too much, and a lot of the stuff is just so hard to find because it's price gouged, It's incredibly difficult to find, man. Samna says, much love for your shoutouts, man. Always appreciate you and your knowledge of Star Wars. Yeah, man, I'm not perfect. There's even with all the stuff that I've come to absorb and understand in Star Wars, no one's a master. I know there's a lot of people that say that they're lore masters and stuff, but I want to shy away from that. In knowing a good conscience of myself, I can never call myself that. Even if I do truly know everything, which I don't, there's always something that you're not going to know. There's always the minute detail that you're not going to understand. There's something that you misread or misspoke, and lore changes all the time. It's so interesting to see when you go back and read Tales of the Jedi comics and see how they view the Force, see what happens in the old late 80s books and the late 80s comics, like Shadow of the Empire and everything else with like Prince Caesar and the way he dies and all these other books with the courtship of Princess Leia. Everything ends up changing and from decade to decade, and so I think that everyone that was there at one point, there isn't too many of those people that have literally read everything and understand. So I'm more of a Star Wars enthusiast, I like to make sure that what I report is correct. I like to make sure that you have the source, and that's why I like doing this, because even with the people that I see consistently talking about Star Wars, I think a lot of takes are quite questionable, and I think it's really interesting to go back when you find these sources in comic books to see, wow, okay, man, maybe this is not the right way that we're talking about Darth Revan, or maybe this isn't the correct way that we're talking about the dark side of the Force and how it's used in Force sensitives, or Kyle Katarn's view of the Force as a tool, which I think is actually pretty Sith-like in a manner, even though he's obviously a good guy and he's less dogmatic, and when he looks at the Force itself. And I think that's really interesting, and that's always up for debate, because no one's truly wrong, and at the end of the day, because it's an opinion and it's disconnected from the movies. But at the end of the day, everybody loves it and you discuss it, and that's why I love it. Even if I'm completely wrong, or even if I don't agree with your take, man, I'm just glad that you're here debating about it. Skywalker Academy says, hello there. Just finished the book, The High Republic Light of the Jedi. I really enjoyed it. Kind of makes me want to... Dude, Skywalker Academy, it's so funny because, yeah, you're one of the main people that consistently talks about Legends continuity in my content, and I'm someone that's been really big on Legends continuity. I just love Legends, but I don't I like Disney stuff too. Not all of it, but I do like it. And the High Republic, I feel like, is slept on. I don't think it's amazing, and it's nowhere near the Old Republic in terms of quality for me. But I think the High Republic is slept on. I think it's good, and the Light of the Jedi for me is a solid book. But the one that comes after that, The Rising Storm, is one of the best Star Wars books I've ever read. And it's mainly because Cavan Scott, the guy that writes that, also wrote Jedi Dooku Lost. He's loved Star Wars Expanded Universe. That's actually how he fell in love first. He didn't watch the movies. He read the comics and the books first, and then he saw the movies, then he fell in love with it. And I think that type of writer is needed in this era where, a lot of the comic books and stuff and books aren't coming from what came before. It's all original ideas. So I think someone like that, a part of the High Republic in the writing room, is so integral to the value that it's going to have with the next generation of Star Wars fans. So I'm glad that you ended up liking it. Brandon, thank you so much for coming over here on Instagram. Says, is Keanu Reeves Darth Revan? I know a lot of people really like the idea of Keanu Reeves as Revan, and I think it makes sense in terms of an aesthetic and how he looks. But I'm not so sure if I just like Keanu Reeves as Revan entirely. I think he's too old, especially if you want to take a character and put him into Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. I think Keanu's too old, but a lot of people really like the idea of it, so I don't even think it really matters if I like it or not. Salmon says, speaking of Kyle, are there any other media outside of Jedi Knight games that Kyle's featured? Yes, there are books. I think he is a part of, because I know he fights Darth Caedus, later on. And that's a very important fight with him and Darth Caedus. And you also get to see like how durable he is, his view in the New Jedi Order. He's kind of a part as well of like everything that happens around the time and era of Kip Duran and his psychopathic radical Jedi. And that's about it, I would say. There's probably a couple other things, but Kyle Katarn is mainly with those games and a couple little books that go a part of Luke Skywalker's New Jedi Academy. But it's a really interesting stuff, but that's why I want to talk about it, because I actually made 2 videos talking about the view of the Force, and I actually wanted to have your guys' opinion on that. And I have the script right here, since you guys are coming into the stream, so you guys are going to get the nice, beautiful the premiere, the preview. So I had someone say this in the comments, and they said, the Force is a tool. It can be used for good or evil because it doesn't matter what side of the Force you tap into. And for me, I disagree. Like, I disagree. And I know a lot of people see the Force as a tool and that it's not so bad to use as the dark side because of characters like Revan, because of characters like Kyle Katarn, because of characters like Starkiller, you know, and a lot of misunderstood characters like Mace Windu. But we'll talk more about Mace Windu later. But the thing is the video games give the illusion that the dark side of the Force is controllable, and the movies do not show that. The movies are completely opposite of what the video games in the expanded universe show you. Anakin Skywalker is his entire strategy is using the idea of the dark side of the Force to save somebody. It's a lure, it's a trick. And because he falls for that trick, he suffers, he falls, throws the galaxy into calamity. But then characters in video games like Revan, you know, where the game kind of allows you to use dark side stuff, allows you to break into apartments in the first couple levels just to steal stuff from the characters in the game. There's no real repercussion in these video games. And because everybody loves these characters from these video games, they truly believe that the game mechanics in the video game are a true representation of how the dark side of the Force works. And to me, that is inaccurate. It's not the way the Force is supposed to work, especially when using the dark side of the Force. The dark side of the Force is a drug. You know, I'll even read you right now this one thing I was reading a couple hours ago today about the way Jedi in general see dark-sided anything. And they see it as a disease, a poison, you know, a drug. Its presence is subtle and weak at first, but eventually corrupts everything around it. This is straight out of, you know, RP source books, and as well as one of my favorite books, the Essential Guide to the Force, Jedi and Sith. And everything that you see, usually, especially when in regards to what George Lucas and everything, how the movies are supposed to play out, the dark side is a drug. You know, even in The Return of the Jedi, where Luke Skywalker uses the dark side of the Force to defeat Darth Vader, he realizes that. He's so self-aware and acknowledges that and throws away his lightsaber in defiance because he was falling down the path that the Emperor wanted him to consume him and fall to the dark side just like his father did, Anakin Skywalker. And so that's always my problem when people talk about how the dark side can be controlled, because if it can be controlled and you want your character like Darth Revan or Starkiller or Kyle Katarn to use both sides of the Force, that in my opinion is the biggest disrespect to Anakin Skywalker's legacy. Because if Anakin Skywalker, the son of the son of the Force, the literal chosen one, Space Jesus of Star Wars, can't use the dark side of the Force, isn't immune to it, then in my opinion, no one should be. And I think so many people that love those characters just disregard all of that, all 6 movies. And that's why I just can't agree. And I'll never be convinced that the dark side of the Force should be controlled, you know, or the dark side of the Force, you know, you can use both of them, like some Nirvana or yin and yang, And I don't think that's truly a part of Star Wars. But that's just my view, man. That's just my opinion, you know. I don't want to... I love Revan, man. Revan is a god, bro. He's my boy, dude. I bought a $400 statue for this guy, and I'm waiting for my Revan statue, you know, because I love Revan that much. But I think that there's some things that do well in video games that shouldn't be a part of true live action in Star Wars. Sorry, that was like kind of a rant, but yeah. David Torres says, Lord Dagovere, you Generation Tech know your Star Wars. I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. Hyde Flynn says, yes, exactly. Anakin is strict. That power comes at a cost. You don't know that. Exactly, yes. And the video games do not show that. The video games do not show that at all. Even the way it scores the dark side points, you know, with like killing somebody or you know, executing stuff. Even Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO, doesn't really show you exactly how dark side points work very well. You know, even Jedi Survivor, the newest game, I feel like because it's a video game, it's allowing you to have this loose view of like what did I say? I wrote it in here. It's a very loose view, justification of who a character is, just so you can be the good guy at the end of the day, you know. That's exactly how I feel it. Facts, yo, heck yes, the Dark Temple will be well decorated. Yes, indeed. Yes, I love the Dark Temple. I actually wanted to make a video on the Dark Temple for spooky stuff, but I don't know. A lot of people don't know it, but I guess I can educate people on how cool the Dark Temple is, since I played it so long in Star Wars: The Old Republic. That was my place, man. I sat there all the time on Dromund Kaas. I don't even know if people actually know that, but that's a legit place where Mara Jade and Kyle Katarn. When I say at the beginning of the streams and in the watch parties and stuff like that, you know, welcome to the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many other apprentices and Force sensitives, whatever the hell I say. That's actually a legitimate thing. Kyle Katarn and Mara Jade actually visited the Dark Temple on Dromund Kaas. And I've thought about that since like 2013, 2012, whatever that game had come out. I just always said that, but you know, there was no one watching me. I was just playing Star Wars: The Old Republic by myself on the Prophecy of the Five server, and then I switched to the Jungma server, and then I went back to the Prophecy of the Five, and then Satil's server. It was a lot. There was a lot, but I was literally the only one playing that I knew. I didn't really get to play that with anybody. You think you can control it, but that's the dark side you're talking to. You're under control itself. Yes, and it's so funny because there's so many people inside the chat and then inside these comments that have that same view that Anakin did. Like they're the same type of person. All those people with that same view would fall to the dark side. All of them. Every single one of them. Because that's exactly, that thought process is so dangerous. Like, including the ones that really love the Jedi Shadow, who's the radical, the zealot, that's going out and trying to exterminate the dark side. And there was a lot of people in those videos that I saw that were like, this is exactly the Jedi that I want to be. This is the exact Jedi that I want to be. And I was like, man, you all are falling to the dark side. All of you are doing some wrong things and are absolutely going to end up like Anakin. It's but that's exactly why the dark side is so dangerous, you know. Yeah, but it's really interesting to see so many people talk about that and see that. Facts, yeah, absolutely, Trent. Thank you so much, man. But yeah, if you guys got any questions, anything about dark side, light side, you know, any Jedi stuff, Old Republic stuff, whatever you guys want to talk about, if I know it, I'll absolutely talk with you guys. I don't know if you guys have seen any of these RP books, man, but some of these RP books are so damn good. There's another one I just got too that was Nexus of the Force, and the Nexus of the Force one actually seems really interesting. I want to go in and talk about it, man. It's so fun. It's also really interesting when you find topics that you've already known. For instance, like I know about Valley of the Jedi, you know, from the Dark Forces, from the Dark Forces book, from the Dark Forces video game, and then there's little intricate things that you don't necessarily get from the video game, but the RP book gives it to you. And it's so interesting what is allowed to be said in those books. because I kind of see the RP books and the source books or the essential atlases. Sometimes they have direct quotes from characters, whether it's like Revan or Odan or Luke Skywalker himself, Exar Kun, Darth Bane. It's almost as if like the RP books and the books that you're getting are like holocrons, an email or their own wiki page or their own journal where they're talking about all these things and letting you know these dark secrets. It's so damn interesting. And that's why I get really obsessive when I'm reading these things. I can't stop. And I just want to tell all of you. Well, sometimes I'll be reading this shit and I'll be reading like, oh my gosh, did you see this shit? And there's no one in my room. I'm literally like looking for someone to tell, and there's no one here. That's why I make videos, because there's no one else to tell. There's no one else to tell, and at least when I make these videos for Star Wars, someone's gonna read it, someone's gonna talk on it, someone's gonna comment on us, and it's so fun, man. It's so interesting, and there's just so much. There's pages upon pages. Robbie, yo, fam, thank you so much for joining here. I appreciate you, fam. I appreciate it. The other day we were talking about something. I think it was about the source, and I think we were talking about I think it was the Sith Holocaust or the genocide. But I don't think you ever replied to the last comment. But yeah, man, if you ever want to discuss that again, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. David Torres says, what's up with those Jedi who hunted down Darksiders? Yes, that's the Jedi Shadows. That's the one we made a video about the other day. Jedi Shadows are really interesting because they... so I'll tell you here. I have the page written down. I have a whole bunch of sticky notes when I get really serious. So this is how I get the sources. So I start, so you guys can see, Instagram just saw it, but I'm going around and basically keeping everything, tabbing everything as much as I can to make sure I have lists of it. So when the time comes and we can talk about these things, if anyone forgets it or if I die and someone wants to make videos, they could basically find all my books and it's basically a real life holocron with all this knowledge and notes that I have. So I'll give you the rundown. So the Jedi Shadows, the elite Jedi Shadows, are widely respected members of the Jedi Sentinels. The role of the Jedi Shadows is to seek out and vanquish any traces of the dark side, requiring them to be both spies and saboteurs. Jedi Shadows prize the mission above all else, and often must make moral compromises that would be unpleasant for other members of the Jedi Order. Jedi Shadows serve to uphold the ways of the Force by hunting down agents of the dark side. And there's a lot more into some of the older source books and roleplay books that really make you understand that the Jedi Shadows are some pretty bad dudes. Thank you, Valhall. I appreciate you being here, man. I hope you get to see you. We do this every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you can come by next time, dude, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Deuces, fam. But the Jedi Shadows are kind of terrifying. What it was describing in the other source books is that they can't have friends. And the reason why they can't have friends is if they see their friends have anger or attack somebody and the dark side, and they sense the dark side around them, they will destroy that person because they truly believe that they need to expunge the dark side. And they're radicals. They're extremists. And they're supposed to be a part of the Jedi Order. But what it also says, too, is that the Jedi Order also, worries about a lot of these shadows because the shadows end up loony and crazy. In fact, there was even a comic, I think, in Legends continuity that I just made a video about. Basically, what happens is, some of these shadows get crazy and the Jedi Order finds out how crazy they've become with just their fear of the dark side, that a lot of them have to be put into custody and taken away. Yeah, it's very hardcore, and I think as someone who I'm a Sith enthusiast. I do not like the Jedi at all. I don't. I really don't, because I'm an Anakin Skywalker fan. So the Jedi do not sit well with me. But there is so much hate for the Jedi that I think it's a little too much. A lot of people will consistently try to convince me that the Sith are better than the Jedi, which I think is laughable, even as me as a Sith enthusiast. Come on, man, the Sith are the bad guys. You know, the Jedi weren't great, obviously, but at the end of the day, on paper, there's nothing wrong with what the Jedi are doing in terms of the Order and how they're trying to protect the galaxy. That doesn't mean like what they're doing isn't questionable, because Jesus Christ, man, have you listened to my videos about them recruiting children? Some of that shit is terrifying. Jesus. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people really kind of, you know, talking about the Jedi, hating the Jedi gets a lot of views. It's very popular to do nowadays. So I think people really drag them through the mud because of, you know, that's the cool thing to do. But they're definitely nowhere near as bad as a lot of the comments that I get. And there's no convincing those people. Every time I make a video that is even trying to sort out the lies, I get bombarded with like hate talking about how I'm a Jedi apologist. It's hilarious when I'm the complete opposite. It's crazy. Do any books stand out more so as dark and horror based? Yes. Legends sorry, Trent, I just saw that. Legends continuity is one of the easiest ones, of course, because there's a book about a Sith Lord that tries to somewhat animate the dead and has something to do with blood, which I don't think was a very popular book, but is from the time of the Old Republic. Then the more popular one is Death Troopers, and Death Troopers is a really good read. It's a very short story. I don't want to spoil it, but it's probably one of the most popular Star Wars horror books, if not the most popular horror books. It's basically zombies in Star Wars, which is really interesting because you have the Rakghoul Plague and everything else. This is not the Rakghoul Plague. This is something entirely different. And it's really interesting to see how this happens in the time of the Civil War between the Rebels and the Empire. Then there is also a new canon book that is called Dark Legends. And Dark Legends is actually pretty solid. It's got about like 7... It's probably got like 12 I want to say like 12 or 15 short stories that are very horror-like. One of them is about all of these kids that are at an orphanage, and this terrifying vampire shadow thing is like stealing all the children at night, and no one knows what's happening. And I can't tell you the spoilers of that because it's a really cool twist. And it's something I think that people will appreciate. But it's stories like that. Like every single story is something spooky. And it's really cool. But the Target one apparently has another story about the Drengnir. And I'm really annoyed because I wanted that story. And I don't have that one. But there's a lot of good stuff, man. A bunch of good stuff. If you want like a specific list, maybe I can make some. But get Death Troopers. Get the ones there's the Arlstein like books. The title, can't remember what was the title again, guys. What was the title of the Goosebumps Star Wars books again? That we were reading, that we were talking about. I think it was. Oh man, I can't remember. Someone knows though. I know someone was talking about it earlier. Yeah. Damn, bro, that's how. Yeah. So the Jedi Shadows are like what Saw Gerrera is. Yes. Yeah, they are. That's exactly what they are. If Saw Gerrera was a Force sensitive, yeah, they have no. It's really terrifying how the Jedi Shadow are. I think, honestly, like the idea of the Gray Jedi and the Jedi Shadow, I feel like those people literally sit together at lunch. That's how similar they are, man. Galaxy of Fear. Thank you so much, Samus. Yes, Trent. That's the other one is Galaxy of Fear. Galaxy of Fear is pretty good. There is also... What's the Vader comics that came out? Or there wasn't a Vader comics. There was something else. Kevin Scott was doing some of them. It was also a horror-inspired comics run for the new canon. I didn't get this... I can't remember what that's... I don't know if that was also Galaxy of something else. I'm going to have to check that one out. But those were also supposed to be really popular. David Torres, I'm sorry for him. I gotta take off my stuff. I was on for a while. I was on for like 40 minutes with it, but now I'm soaked. Sorry, guys. The Screaming Citadel. I'm not sure. It's brand new. I'll have to see. I'll type it in right now. Star Wars horror. If they used to come out like once a year, and I think it's called Vader's Castle. I think it's called Vader's Castle. I think it's Vader's Castle. Yes, it is. It's Vader's Castle. Yeah, Star Wars Adventures goes to Vader's Castle. There's a bunch of Vader Castle ones. And I think that's in the last, like, year or so. Yeah, and then Galaxy of Fear is I think, like, 11 bucks or something. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's 12. Okay, so I wasn't completely wrong. Yeah, so there's some pretty good stuff. Screaming Citadel is the Dr. Aphra comics with Luke Skywalker. Those are pretty good too. Those are the ones that I know that are pretty scurry. But yeah, man, honestly, some of these comics are pretty scary. But yeah. Jedi, but the Jedi Shadows are wild, man. They're pretty crazy. I also think that the Jedi Shadows and the Grey Jedi people will literally love each other. I think they're pretty similar folk. Yes, Skywalker Academy says, I always thought a Sith horror movie could be awesome, seeing the darkest parts of the dark side explored. Yeah, man, I'm not really sure how. I think horror can be good in Star Wars, because horror doesn't always mean rated R, and I don't want to see gore in Star Wars. I think that just ruins it. I think that's someone's like weird fantasy. But I think that you can get away with PG-13. I think PG-13 would be good, especially if it was like Darksiders, Sith acolytes. Imagine a story of Sith acolytes in Sith space during the time, 4,000, 5,000 years, 6,000 years, 10,000 years. Before the Battle of Yavin, around the time the Dark Exiles showed up, maybe a little bit after, where the Dark Exiles are breeding, are interbreeding with the Sith species, and so that entire era of the new Dark Lords of the Sith era starts. So you have the Sith acolytes and the Sith acolytes and slaves, and you see how that entire culture is starting to kind of polish itself into this new refined era of Sith, where they're going to want to go out and explore and conquer. And just like Star Wars: The Old Republic shows you, Sith acolytes, they're really hard to survive. And maybe part of their, acknowledgement or growing up into being a Sith apprentice instead of an acolyte, because you're still so low, is like maybe they have to go into the Valley of the Sith Lords, where Exar Kun goes, where the zombies are, where the wraiths are, where Terran Tactics and Deshards and all these other, and the Takata, all the crazy things of like what Korriban has to offer. I think that would be really interesting. Or even something like Rakata Prime, Lihone, where they have to go into and fight off the Rakatans that are there and things like that. The Rakatan tribes from Knights of the Old Republic. I think there's so many interesting things that you could do with just the galaxy of Star Wars and the dark side planets. Even a story on Dathomir, would be really crazy to see what goes down with, the Night Sisters and living there. And dude, even being like a male Dothmarian, or a Zabrek or something on that planet, and getting taken away by the Night Sisters and some of the craziest parts of their tribes, and getting possessed by spirits from the Ikor and everything else, and their gods that they worship. It's basically what's it, the Blair Witch Project of Star Wars. Like, you could do stuff like that. You could get away with like PG-13 because there's no gore or anything else. It's not a slasher, but it could be like psychological horror, paranormal horror that could really terrify the hell out of people. And I think that's the type of stuff that would be really interesting to explore, the dark depths of the dark side of the Force. Really interesting, man. There's so much to do. Someone was talking about a horror movie of like trying to escape Darth Vader or something. And that's like the thing at the end is like they're on a space station and everyone's trying to get out of here, and someone's picking them off one by one like the Predator, and it turns out to be Darth Vader. I think that'd be really interesting, but I do think that there's other ways that you could probably do something like that. Darth Vader obviously would be the coolest, but yeah, you want to know what else is out there. I think it'd be really cool. I mean, even something like with the Emperor, man. I think the Emperor is terrifying. I don't think a lot of people understand, like, anyone that the Emperor, that if the Emperor notices that you witnessed him use the Force, he has to kill you. You know, a lot of people in the galaxy do not know the Emperor is Force sensitive. And I think it was Sith Lords, I think is the book. Oh no, Lords of the Sith. That's what it is. Lords of the Sith is a really good book, new canon book. One-off story just about Darth Vader and the Emperor, and they're fighting on Ryloth. The Star Destroyer gets blown up. They end up crashing on Ryloth, and they have to find their way back to the Empire. And it's basically this whole really good plan that Cham Syndulla, I think, Hera Syndulla's father, ends up, and he's a freedom fighter, and he has this really amazing plan, actually, to take out Darth Vader and the Emperor all at once. Almost works, but, you know, he just kind of overestimated who the Emperor and Darth Vader were. And that entire book, you kind of see the Emperor and how terrifying he is, and, like, regular stormtroopers don't really know that he uses the Force, and people around him don't know he uses the Force, and anyone that he sees that he uses the Force around, he ends up killing them. And I would wonder if, like, what if there was this instance where the Emperor had to use the Force around him, and it was just him stalking and killing these people, and he would have to annihilate every single one of them, like an entire Star Destroyer of people, you know, very similar to how Death Troopers is. Death Troopers is a really, really interesting book, the way that works. Just the whole idea of, like, a Star Destroyer becoming a whole battleground of the dead. Very scary, man. Very, very crazy. You don't realize how quickly Star Wars can be spooky. Especially with something like the Rackle Plague, man. On Terrace? Shh, that'd be crazy, dude. That'd be crazy, too. Because especially in Knights of the Old Republic, where Terrace is bombarded by Malak. And for those of you who don't know, Terrace is a whole city world, like Coruscant. And there's a whole underworld where people are living under there that they weren't supposed to be. And the whole planet kind of, like, collapses on itself because it gets bombarded. And then you have the Rackles that are there that are basically like Star Wars space zombies. And they're creatures. And instead of, you know, someone turning into a zombie, they literally form into this quadruped creature. And they infect other people. It's really freaking crazy. And so you could just have this whole scene where Terrace is being bombed, and then now they have to worry about the destruction and the Rackle Plague all at the same time. Very interesting, like, you know, world catastrophe scenario there. Because Terrace doesn't really repair itself for thousands of years. It's kind of sad. But yeah, lots of stuff, man. We got 10 minutes. Anyone else have any questions or anything else before we go until I see you next week? Next week I might dress up again. I might do something else. I know I do my Sith stuff, my Sith cloak, but I might get more stuff. I can't wait for you guys to see the next couple spooky stuff that's coming out. I hope you guys enjoy it. The playlist has been awesome, man. I'm gonna add to it every single year. So, you know, next year, there's just this whole video of, like, spooky Star Wars stuff that everybody can enjoy, and you guys could watch it, like, every year when it comes out. I want to do that for, like, every year. You know, Christmas is a little harder to make, you know, Thanksgiving is a little harder, you know, whatever, all these other seasons, but I think everybody gets into the mood in these last couple months. So it's really interesting to see all these other seasons and books, and I like doing stuff that not a lot of people do in Star Wars. It's really fun, really interesting. I really enjoy it, man. I don't know if you guys have read Death Troopers yet, but definitely try to read it, man. I don't know if you guys have Audible. Audible is really cool because you don't necessarily need to read the books. It's an audiobook, and you can get on the free trial. Free trial will give you 1 free credit, and you're allowed to download 1 book in that time. So you got like 10 days or 15 days, get a free book, and then listen to Death Troopers for the entire week, and then that's your horror story for Star Wars. There you go. You just got a free book. Really cool. Yeah. I usually listen to the books like a higher speed. So maybe if the book is like 10 hours or something, if you listen to it like 1.5 speed, you'll finish it in like 5 hours, 4 hours. So that could be like one sitting one day when you get home from work or something, or when you're working out. Really, really easy to finish one single book like that. Alrighty, man. Yeah, we're almost done here, guys. Let me know if you have anything else. Well, I'm gonna read this one thing about Korriban. I love reading some of these things, man. Even though I've read it like over and over. It's so cool. Dark side power levels. Not every dark side site is equal, and each is rated as a minor site, major site, or extreme site. Minor sites include the ancient tomb of the Sith Lord, or lair of a particularly powerful Sith creature. Major sites include Valley of the Sith Lords on Korriban, or the Cave on Dagobah. Interesting how they categorize Dagobah as a major dark-sided area that's on the level of the Valley of the Sith Lords, like Korriban. Valley of the Sith Lords on Korriban has hundreds of Sith, dozens and dozens of Sith, very powerful Sith Lords, some of the most powerful Sith Lords that have ever done in the world of Star Wars. And one single cave on Dagobah is supposed to be in that same realm. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy thinking about that. I mean, I know the cave on Dagobah is powerful. Of course, we all know it because we see it in Empire Strikes Back. But from that depth of power too, that's kind of crazy, man. I did not know that. Extreme sites are very rare and reserved for the most horrible places, such as the Demon Moon of Zune, or battlefields where thousands of innocents were slaughtered on the blood of untold Sith and Jedi mind, such as Rusan. A dark side site can grow in power, particularly as darksiders are drawn to it and commit unspeakable acts within its confines, adding to the new energy of place. And for those of you that don't know, Rusan is where basically a majority of the Sith and Jedi died during the time of the Path of Destruction book for Bane, which is really interesting. David Torres says, do you think we're going to get an Asajj Ventress animation? So I hope not. And the only reason why I say I hope not is because I don't know what exactly we're going to do with Asajj Ventress. I want to see more Asajj Ventress. I hope we have more animated shows, and that's Asajj Ventress is a part of. But if you were going to tell me, like, we're going to get a show and it's about Asajj Ventress, I don't know if I could be excited about the idea of that until I see it. Because I was not excited about the Bad Batch. I was not excited about the Bad Batch. I thought the Bad Batch was just an idea that we wanted to make another story and do something else. It was only until the Bad Batch started and I saw the end of first season, I liked it. And then second season picked it up and I really liked it. So if they can do something like that with Asajj Ventress, yeah, I'm sold. I'm sold. Because the storytelling and animation, in my opinion, is better than a lot of the live action stuff. And I get more into it. So I'm down. If you could sell me on the idea of Asajj Ventress and what exactly we're going to do, is that going to go to Dathomir? How is she going to survive? Where's she going to go? I think that Star Wars has a problem with characters that didn't survive past the original trilogy, and there's no one in the sequel trilogy that can really help amplify or enhance the movies of that era, and that's something that I would be doing in storytelling. For instance, like Ahsoka, for instance, like Thrawn, for instance, like Mando. Asajj Ventress is another character that I think should be pushed into that era. Skywalker Academy says, I think that's why Yoda hid there, because it is, yes, that's exactly it. We all knew that. The dark-sided cave was essentially canceling out Yoda's signal. But that's crazy. I mean, that just makes, in my opinion, that cave on Dagobah so much more mysterious and interesting. Like, what the hell happened there on Dagobah? You know, I know that there's that one short comic where, I can't remember if it's Yoda or Yoda species, that it kills that Sith Lord that's there. But I never, like, took it as, like, official canon. I thought it's to me, it's always just the Dagobah cave, It's like a dark side nexus. Which is really interesting because there's light-sided nexus or well springs, and well springs are basically like the origin point, like where the galaxy was first started to become born in Star Wars. And I think those are like all over the Star Wars universe. So there's like different well springs in the Star Wars universe that essentially created everything. And the wellspring is that, and maybe the Dagobah cave is like a dark side wellspring. I think that's also really interesting and what it could be. I kind of saw that whole scene as Luke having a Force vision, kind of like what happened to Rey in The Force Awakens. Yeah, exactly. I think that I don't like The Last Jedi. There's a lot that I don't like about The Last Jedi, but I think that scene is very good. I love ahch-to. Shit, man, I love almost every scene on ahch-to. I think ahch-to is a very cool planet, and the cave scene is very good. I'm just one of those people that just really didn't like the way Luke Skywalker was in that movie. I actually think if Luke didn't die in that movie, I think it might be the best Star Wars movie ever. Because that's my whole thing, is like the whole perception, how I absorbed Luke Skywalker, and then you take him away from me, he dies. I think that if he doesn't die, I would probably be defending The Last Jedi. Honestly, if he doesn't die, if Luke Skywalker does not die, I might be Last Jedi is like one of Last Jedi. I don't know if it'll be my favorite movie because I love Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith so much, but it'll definitely be top 3. It would definitely be top 3 if Luke Skywalker didn't die. If Luke Skywalker did not die, oh my god, man. I think that changes the entire perception of that movie. For real. But for me, because he died, hated it. Hated it, man. I hated it, dude. Oh, man, I was so mad. Yeah, but no, I think you're right about that Skywalker Academy. I think that's really, really interesting. But I love the whole idea of Ruusan and the Valley of the Jedi, which is really cool. Valley of Jedi is made up of two distinct areas: the valley itself and the canyon where the Battle of Ruusan happened. Topography. Oh, what a big word. So, topography, but it's topographically. The canyon is nothing more than a naturally created crevice that once had a mighty river running through it, but the river has dried up. The deep canyon is rather unstable, and rocks slide and occur on a regular basis. And then, of course, if you played the Dark Forces, you know about the Valley of the Jedi and the power that it holds, which is also really interesting, because even though it's Ruusan, and Ruusan, has the Valley of the Jedi, it's also dark side oriented too. And that's why that power is so interesting with Kyle Katarn. Will Hondo show up in Skeleton Crew? He freaking better, or I want my money back, bro. He better, dude. If I don't hear Hondo, hey, Ezra, my boy. if I don't hear him, dude, I'm gonna be so mad, bro. Oh man, I kind of saw that whole scene as yeah, I already read that. I'm an idiot. Skywalker Comedy says visual Last Jedi my favorite, especially the cinematography, but story wise, yikes. Yes, I think that The Last Jedi is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. Like visually, every time I see that, I think it looks better than Rise of Skywalker. Like I think that movie looks like better than Rise of Skywalker. Looks good. But The Last Jedi looks amazing. So does Rogue One. I love the way Rogue One looks, man. But yeah, story-wise, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. It's a setup for Hondo appearance, am I right? Dude, it's perfect for Hondo. It's, okay, so I need, in the Skeleton Crew, this is all I need. I've returned, maxed out 245, baby. Let's go, baby. Z Broly in the house. Majin Vegeta ain't got shit on y'all, dude. Let's go. I love it, man. My boy. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I maxed out 245 candy bars, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Really like your content. Thanks for all in all. Thank you, Kodama. I appreciate you being here. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good day. Thank you so much. Awesome. I love that comment. Thank you. I got 5 more minutes here. Lois, stop playing. You're like it. I know. I like playing it down. I like when people think I'm just some stupid ass nerd on the internet. I think it's really fun to deceive people that way. They got no idea. They not like us. David Torres, to go back on Skeleton Crew. This is what I needed for Skeleton Crew, okay? I only need 2 things, okay? I need Hondo to show up, and I need Batu. I need the planet Batu. If the planet Batu is not in the show, nah, man. It's just it's a swing and a miss. It's a swing and a miss. I don't understand how you can have a series where, these kids are going into basically wild space where a whole bunch of pirates are. So they're very, very far out there. And the idea that these kids aren't going to Batu, the last basically rest stop until uncharted space, Galaxy's Edge. I need that planet to be canon, man. We ride if Hondo doesn't show up. Yeah, I don't understand, man. And you know how Hondo is with kids, especially with Ezra and everything else, especially with the Padawans, that he saved. Hondo, dude, Hondo is legit, bro. This guy trapped Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Count Dooku all at once. Like, put some respect on Hondo's name. Like, yeah, bro. Hondo is that dude. Only for a prophet. He's the legend, dude. Okay, guys, I got one last question, and then I am out of here. It would be a missed opportunity if Batu is not shown. Yes, every single season of a show that comes out and Batu's not there, I just don't understand it. Dude, don't get me wrong, man. There's a lot of stuff to criticize with Disney canon, but there's one book. I have it on audiobook. I forgot. I don't have it in person. I have the audiobook. Batu, or Galaxy's Edge, Black Spire Outpost. Dude, that is such a good book. It's like one of my guilty pleasure books, man. This was after I was homeless, and I that was one of the first books that I bought on Audible. And I was walking to one of my 3 jobs that I had, and I was walking in the rain, and I put this story on, and I was like, I don't know if this one's gonna be good. Last couple books I've listened to haven't been good, and it was solid. Like, I just liked every chapter. I even went back and was listening to chapters to and from back every time I would work. I had like 3 jobs. I was a waiter, I worked at GameStop, and then I did Lyft. And so there was times where I was just listening to that stuff, especially when I worked Lyft and at GameStop. And like that, I went through that book so quick, and some of the chapters I listened to over and over, man. It wasn't like the greatest book of all time at all, but it was just a good book. I liked it. I liked it, and it made me appreciate Galaxy's Edge at Disney like so much more. It wasn't just a place; it had a story. There was characters that it was a part of, and it had some really great details, man. Really cool stuff. I loved it. Yeah, man, really cool stuff. But yeah, I think that's it, fam. I think I'm gonna head out now. I think I'm gonna dip. I am tired. I can't wait for you guys to see the next couple stories. It's gonna be freaking awesome, man. But as you know, every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, you know it, fam. Coming into the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitive like yourself. Thank you so much all for coming. I appreciate you. And don't forget, always coming in to get some knowledge. Thank you guys. I'll see you around. Deuces.